How's it going, guys? Brian Cusco here at Triple B. Now, I don't ever do this, but I'm gonna ask you guys to watch this entire video. I never tell you guys that. I've never said, hey, watch this whole video. I put what's up there and I let you watch however much you want, whenever you want to stop, you want to stop. But this one, I really want you guys to watch this whole video. If you really care about teaching people about snakes, if you really care about helping the general public understand how cool snakes really are, that there's nothing to fear for them, and you want to learn some good techniques on how to do that, you need to watch this video to the end, because there's going to be some great information covered in here on how to do just that. So please, this is the only time I'm going to ask you guys this. Please watch this whole video. So the night before I went to Tinley, I was at Prehistoric Pets and I was talking with Laura and I was talking with Tim, and they said, oh, you need to meet this guy Garrett. And Tim's like, oh, he's like one of my favorite people in the world. And I was like, okay, you're going to be there, I'll go check him out. And then I met him and he was super cool. Kimberly was one of the people I was going to interview, already planned, and he had the same idea. He was going to interview her as well. And he thought, instead of both of us doing the interview, why don't we collaborate and do it together? That way we're not getting two of the same interview. And I thought that was a great idea. And Kim said she was into three-ways, so I was like, all right, let's do this. And it worked out great, because honestly, I think Garrett does a way better job of interviewing people than I do. So check it out. You're watching Triple B TV. Kim, this one's for you.
Why don't you tell us a couple things about how you got involved in reptiles back in the beginning?
Well, I feel like I was almost born with a fascination with reptiles. Of course, as I was a little kid, catching garter snakes, and bringing them into the house and letting them loose, and my parents freaking out. And so it's just always been a really fascinating topic for me. I'm always the kid that's sitting around counting ants rather than getting into trouble.
I think probably a lot of us can relate to that. Was there any kind of like catalyst that pushed that from just like, I like animals and I'm an animal nature person, to, you know, more seriously like maybe career?
I got my first ball python at 11 for my birthday, so I feel like the keeping part kind of started with that, and then I've had pretty much every like popular pet store animal growing up, and I have snakes and lizards and insects now, and just kind of goes up and down and grows and shrinks and morphs into what I do now. What
kind of stuff do you do to get out in your own natural community and appreciate what's there?
Well, we do run the rattlesnake removal service in our area. So we get out, and if anybody calls for a snake, we try to direct the calls to me, and I direct them to my volunteers, and we'll go out and remove them. Animal control there just goes out and kills snakes. We just try to avoid that, put them back in their environment where they belong. We do talk about why we need these snakes and why they should avoid just killing them. And then there's also herping and hiking, and New Mexico has wonderful weather and beautiful scenery, so it's as often as I can, I try to get out and enjoy that. It's a really wonderful place.
So a lot of us in the reptile industry know who you are,
right?
But your average Joe that finds a rattlesnake in his backyard, I think his first response is going to be call animal control. What's your approach to actually get to know people outside the reptile industry, where you can make probably the biggest difference, at least in those individual rattlesnakes' lives? How do you reach out to them? Do you go through animal control and say, hey, we're here to do live removal, or do you try to go straight to the public?
I try to go straight to the public, especially through really popular groups on Facebook, of course. Social media is very powerful there. We have flyers up, and all the animal rescues know our name. And
why don't you tell us a little bit about the island,
right,
and what you got going on over there, how people can find that, and what it is that you guys do?
I started a program called the Island of Misfit Morphs. A breeder friend of mine had a boa that ended up with an eye infection, and it lost the eye, so we couldn't sell it as a perfect animal in the pet trade. Took it in as a misfit animal and just came up with the idea for the Island of Misfit Morphs, and ever since we've been putting our name out to breeders who, if they produce something, they'll send it to us.
People ship you stuff from all over the place?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, many states and many breeders will come to me or call me if they have something that they can't really sell as a perfect animal. It's completely anonymous, so even if anybody asks, oh, where'd you get that snake, I won't tell them, just because I know people like to protect their reputations and their names. So they're just all anonymous and come from all over the country, and we really enjoy them. We use them in education to not only teach people about reptiles and animals, but also as an anti-bullying platform.
Do you ever rehome any of them, or do they all stay with you?
If they all stayed with me, I would be broke. And
That's
probably
why I
homeless,
asked.
but we rehome any that we don't use. We just got a new boa, a little one-eyed albino boa that went to some of our best volunteers, and they're spoiling the crap out of the snake. So
Awesome.
they go to good homes, and I make sure it's people that have had reptiles before or are willing to do the research and keep it well.
So as somebody that's been on the massive commercial production side of things,
Right.
but also as like an animal lover myself, I think that's fantastic that you actually give an outlet. Because if you're a big commercial thing, I mean, you've got slim margins, everything's got to be perfect,
Right.
and there just isn't a place for an animal that may not have the financial value.
Exactly, yeah.
And there's always a morality issue there, like what do I do with this? You know, especially if it's something that has deformities. You know, some of the stuff no one likes to talk about is like euthanasia
Right.
and things like that. So nobody likes to do that stuff.
Yeah, I
but
know.
I think it's fantastic that not only you're taking in stuff from the public and trying to do things like helping rattlesnakes in people's backyards
Right.
and what have you, but you're also providing an outlet for these animals that have value as an individual life, but maybe not commercially.
Yeah, definitely.
And make sure you find those things home. So that's kudos to you. Good job.
Thank you.
You talked about using animals from an anti-bullying platform. Is
Yes.
that something that's close to you? And
It is, because in school I didn't fit in. I was a nerd. I would walk around the fence looking for lizards and herping all through recess. I didn't really play with the other kids. So of course, we do get picked on and called weird, and I want other people to know that that's a normal thing and it doesn't have to affect how you grow up or how you see the world. It's just people that are lashing out or just uncomfortable with your uniqueness. So I try to show kids that just because you do look different or maybe act different doesn't mean you're any less of a person.
right.
You're still very special and very valuable to our world.
Can you give us a little bit of a glimpse for the light at the end of the tunnel? So let's say you're in junior high school.
Yeah.
You're different for some reason. Everybody's pressuring you to get rid of that thing that makes you different. Like for our viewers out there,
Right.
how do you survive that?
And you just got to focus on things that you love. So a lot of people, art is their outlet, music is their outlet, and just try to do the best you can and get along with people as best you can. Try to stay positive and focus on your passion, and you'll get through the hard times and come out knowing who you are a little bit better.
How does someone deal with that where they're not allowed or encouraged or will get beat up or picked on or
Right.
persecuted? For you got out of high school and things started to change.
Yeah, they did
What can we
change.
expect if we're those weirdos, out there? And stuff like that?
Stay weird. I mean, that's just the best way to be. You don't want to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
Just learn to accept your uniqueness and let it grow. And yeah, I mean, eventually you'll be the cool one in the bigger world. In high school, it's the weirdos do get picked on and seen as different. But once you get out in the real world, it makes you unique and special, and people will know you by your certain little ticks and quirks and stuff like that. And it's great. It's a beautiful thing.
I love it. I would just add to that, you said that you will be the cool one.
Right.
And I can 100% agree. I know that might not feel that way at times,
Yeah.
but the thing that makes you different, it actually goes hand in hand with that kind of persecution, getting picked on. What that does, if you endure, it builds character.
It does, absolutely.
And character is what makes you cool in the real world.
Definitely.
You rock on social
Oh,
media.
thank you.
Okay, and not just because of like your personal branding and marketing and the stuff that you do, but when I see one of your posts, the value of the content is in the comments.
Right.
And that's the opposite for you as it is for everyone else, because things like Facebook or other forms of social media, I mean, they just drag you down to the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
You might put something up there that you think is awesome, and then people start to nitpick it and critique it, and it just pulls you down.
Definitely.
So for you can post even like the most difficult situations and negative things, and then you'll get all these people that automatically want to jump on that bandwagon of like, beating
hate.
you down.
Yeah.
And you turn it right around. If you're on social media, you have a responsibility to make it positive like Kim does. So help us do that, because I'm not good at it either.
Well, it took me a long time. I mean, we all go through those phases, and especially as younger people are getting into something immediately, you have this passion, this burning passion, and all this emotion towards the subject. And a lot of people don't get past the emotion in order to answer questions or comments rationally. So it took me years of practice, just like anything else. Just
To
like
deal with the emotional side.
Exactly, just the emotional side and not just jumping on and immediately responding to these people. So now I've gotten to the point where I can kind of bring my rational brain over the emotion and try not to berate anybody or bring more hate to the comments, but just accept that everybody is reacting passionately and sometimes in anger or happiness or sadness. I understand, but if you take the time and practice filling that gap with more rational thinking and calming yourself down, then you can react positively and educate more people that way. Somebody called me with a rattlesnake they had already killed and put in a bag and wanted me to come get it. I mean, that completely broke my heart, but I told the guy, I mean, please don't kill them, and I gave him reasons why not to kill them, and then told him, if you see another one live, please give us a call first before you try to do anything.
And so you've converted that person now.
Right.
I'll use a word that I think a lot of times comes across as insulting, and that's ignorance, right? So we deal with a lot of ignorance in the reptile industry because there's so many myths out there about reptiles that just aren't true. Okay, so you have two options, right? You're dealt with somebody who made the wrong decision because of their ignorance.
Right.
Okay, now information is power. If you can realize that that person is ignorant, and I mean that in a non-insulting way, just they don't know. They don't know any better. If you can point that out, you're already at an advantage.
Right. For me, it's more like bringing back the innocence of a child. So if you respond to them like any kid would, where it's like they're happy, they're positive, they're like, oh, well, you shouldn't do this because of this, and make them almost feel sorry for you, or sorry that they made you sad, or they made you upset, or they did something wrong without being hateful, then that helps them kind of open up a little bit and realize that, oh, there is a different way, or I could do this a little better next time.
Just building on that, I would encourage everybody, if you see something that you get angry because someone did something out of ignorance, you know more than that person in that area, and that means you have something to offer them.
Right.
You know, so jump in there and teach them.
Right.
Become a teacher of the things that you know.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, use those episodes of ignorance from other people to educate them. And maybe they'll do the same to the next person that said, oh, I killed a rattlesnake, or I killed a snake because I was afraid of it. And then maybe they'll take your words and pass that on. So you can always start a chain reaction by being positive. When you're negative or hateful, then it just shuts people down and makes them want to do even worse things.
The second you trigger their defensiveness, the battle is lost.
Then they're going to tell you about all the snakes they killed. So it's better to just calm down and take a moment. And even I want to write comments when I'm really passionate about something, and I'll type it out, and then I'm like, I have to stop and erase everything and take a minute and just think of a better alternative to what I originally had out of emotion wanted to say to them. Because of course it goes through my mind. I do want to say, oh yeah, you're wrong and you shouldn't do this, and it's human nature, I think, to just act out of passion or emotion first and then think later. But it takes practice, just like building a muscle or training a muscle or your brain. You just have to work on it, and eventually it becomes second nature to just calm down and take your rational brain over your emotional brain.
I think that's probably the most attractive thing about you as a person that all of us on the internet can see, is that you're this beacon of rational, loving, caring correction.
Right.
For all of us in our ignorance.
I'm glad.
So, but I love that what you said. Just this, I think I'm going to do this now, and I think everybody should. You're angry, you type out that comment, just don't hit send.
Right.
And use your information that you have that this other person doesn't to come back and lovingly correct them and bring them up along with you. That's awesome.
And I get called a hippie all the time, and I'm okay with that, because I try to love everybody, and I try to see the goodness in people and help them bring that out in themselves and the rest of their friends and family. And it's just show others love and kindness and patience, and it does get you a lot farther than acting out of hatred or anger or sadness or anything else.
And I don't know if you guys on the internet can see this right now, but what she's doing here is exactly the character thing I was talking about. You get called a hippie all the time. We all get called something all the time. Okay, you can allow that to shut you down. But somebody that's survived that and kind of understands that bullying outsider perspective, you've been called it enough that you've got pretty thick skin.
No, and I take it as an empowering thing, because a lot of people, they want to bring out that anger or the drama in certain situations. So when you don't give them that, then they're just like, oh, well, it's kind of a waste of my time, and this person isn't going to give me that satisfaction of knowing that it bothered you.
So the last thing I just want to talk about, I have a 5-year-old daughter that's like super into, especially bugs. She says her favorite animals are stink bugs and skunks because they have such cool defenses, you know what I mean? And she's just fascinated by it. And you know, one of the ways that I met you was I asked you one time if my 5-year-old daughter could FaceTime with you to get to know you as like a positive female role model for someone that You know, I mean, my daughter is different.
Right.
And the struggles are gonna come.
They are.
And I just want to be able to prepare her for that, and that's awesome. But you have a unique perspective. When you talk to my daughter, I think, and this is key, you look like you're trying to learn from her.
I think kids can teach us lots of things. I mean, they still see the wonder in the world that adults always forget and kind of leave behind. So we take advantage of Mother Earth all the time. And I mean, it gives us life. So we need to stop and enjoy the beautiful weather or the scenery or the animals and just everything that we've been given here on Earth. I mean, we're really, really lucky. Kids still see that. They still see the beauty in the world and the wonder in the world. And that's what I love, and that's why I do education.
Well, thank you so much for
You're
taking the
welcome.
time today
I
to show
appreciate it.
Brian, standing behind the camera over there, thank you for your awesome skills and being able to capture this kind of stuff for the rest of us to kind of get to know each other out in the world. I would encourage all of you guys, jump out there. I mean, you know, if you want to learn more from Kim, hit her up on how can they get a hold of you to get to know you and learn from you better.
Well, we have the Island of Misfit Morphs on Facebook and Instagram, and then Kimberly Elizabeth on Facebook and Instagram as well. So just look me up. I'm always open to answering questions and talking to people. I really enjoy meeting new people and just knowing how the world works and how everybody else ticks. So it's a fun thing and always an adventure.
And I'm Garrett Hartle from reachoutreptiles.com. Just Google search us or whatever, hit us up. You'll find phone numbers and emails and stuff out there. We'd love to talk to you guys because we have so much to learn from you too. So thanks for joining us today.
Thanks.
So what'd you guys think? I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. Next week, we're going to be talking to Jeff Byers from Constrictors Unlimited. So make sure you subscribe if you want to see when that one comes out. Y'all take care.